Fatima is a young mother whose first baby was premature and stillborn, but her second, a healthy boy, came to term and survived. She is against circumcision because the experience for her was horrendous.
The Day I Wore My New Dress by Maggie Black is a story published by UNICEF. It tells about a Somali young mother, Fatma, who underwent female genital mutilation in her young age. Today, we focus on Somaliland and Kenya. We want to know how female genital mutilation affects communities and what is being done to prevent this practice and protect women in these areas. My name is Thierry Francis Mbabane, your host.
Fatima's mother was a seamstress and usually went off to work in the morning. One evening, when Fatima was aged 6, she gave her a new dress and told her to wear it the following day. I was very happy with my dress. I had no idea what was going to happen. Then my mother told me she would stay home that day and not go to work, and I was more happy. Then she said I need not to go to Quranic school today, and I was even happier. I remember that a fat woman came. She started talking to my mother, and my mother was cooking, laughing, and drinking tea. Everyone was happy, and my mother gave me some nice food. Then after a time, she told me to go to the bathroom and have a shower. She said she did not want the woman to see me dirty, so I should wear my new dress. My grandmother arrived. She told me I was to be circumcised, but I did not understand. My mom said, "Now you will be like everybody else. You will not be left behind." Then they got ready. They held me at my shoulders and at the knees, and I started crying and trying to close my legs. It was very terrible. I can never forget that. Fatima falters as she recalls the trauma. She picks up the story only after the worst was over. I was at home for 7 days with acute pain in the area they had cut. I was not allowed to drink water and I couldn't eat any solid food. Fatima and her friends do discuss circumcision. People know it is dangerous and brings difficult births. They hear this on the radio. There are those who say we should stop. If it was up to me, I would say, don't do this to your daughters. But I'm afraid society would not accept. My mother knows there are problems, but she believes it is a rule. She thinks it is shameful to live with the genital area open. She will always insist that we have to close it. Fatima's name has been changed to respect her privacy.
According to World Health Organization, more than 200 million women and girls alive today have undergone female genital mutilation, in short, FGM. At least every year, there are an estimated 3 million girls at risk of undergoing FGM. The majority of girls are cut before the age of 15. In the Horn of Africa, numbers shows a dramatic situation with 98% of women in Somalia, 89% of women in Eritrea, 74% of women in Ethiopia, while 27% of women in Kenya undergo FGM between the age of 15 and 45.
International Solidarity Foundation is empowering women in basically two ways, supporting their income generation, and the other way how we empower women is to prevent gender-based violence against women and girls. And in that area we specifically focus on female genital mutilation.
Maria Väkiparta is a gender specialist in the International Solidarity Foundation based in Finland.
In Kenya, the national prevalence for female genital mutilation has gone down to around 30%, but there are 4 regions where the prevalence is still very high. The region close to Somali border, Kisii, where we operate, Masai, and Kuria regions. So in the Kisii region in the western Kenya, where we operate with our local partners, the FGM prevalence for girls is close to 100%. So that is the statistical situation in Kenya. In Somaliland too, the prevalence is close to 100%. So Somaliland is one of the countries where the national prevalence, FGM prevalence, is among the highest in the world.
The situation of women's rights development in these countries has many handicaps at all fronts. According to UN Women, in Somalia, there is a serious limitation caused mostly by religious belief on the role and status of women in society. In Kenya, women's empowerment is hindered by polygamy, early marriage, and harmful cultural and traditional practices such as female genital cutting. Since a long time ago, there have been many programs that aim to fight against and prevent from FGM, for example. But when you read statistics, you understand that the goals are too far to reach. So the main question is, why FGM persists?
If we look at the reasons upholding the practices in these two countries, in Somaliland, the main reason perpetuating the FGM practice is the misconception that FGM is mandated by religion. that is a very powerful reason for people to continue the practice. Parents are not willing to stop the practice if they think that it's mandated by religion, and the same goes for political leaders. They are not willing to enact a law banning FGM if they think that FGM is mandated by religion. So that is the main reason for the continuation of the practice in Somaliland. Kisi community is Christian. And there, the FGM practice is not I wouldn't say not at all, but not very strongly related to religion. The Kisi community is highly patriarchal community where the male dominance in all sectors of life is basically total. So female genital mutilation is just one way of controlling women, and especially women's sexuality. So in Kisi region, women are subjected to men economically, politically, sexually, in many ways. FGM is a kind of adulthood right, initiation right, and girls who are not mutilated. And this is common to both Somaliland and Kenya, that girls who are not cut are seen as immoral and not pure. So the ritual purity, in a way, is the common denominator for these two regions.
Now, protecting women and girls and prevent future generations from having to undergo FGM is urgent and important topic to discuss. On 5th February 2018, the European Union has decided that discussion on female genital mutilation is included in human rights and political dialogues with partner countries and in an annual dialogues with civil society organizations. Many members of the EU have also taken a step forward to fight against FGM on their own soil. But what is the situation for these countries where the practice is still too strong in people's life? What about the laws that protect women and girls when it comes to FGM?
In Somaliland, we are hopeful. There is already a bill that has been prepared by one of our local partner organizations. They are strongly supporting the certain ministries in drafting the bill, and now the bill is there, and now there are great hopes that during the next years it would be enacted and become a law. One of the problems why the bill has been delayed is that in Somaliland the religious leaders who play a major role in all this kind of moral related issues have been disagreeing on the different forms of cutting. So basically most of them agree that the most severe form, the pharaonic cutting, has nothing to do with religion, that it's absolutely not mandated by religion, but it's forbidden by religion. So they agree on that, but they disagree on the milder form of cutting, the so-called sunnah cutting. Some of them think that it's a religious prescription, while then there are more and more of those religious scholars who have started to hesitate, and even those who publicly announce that even the sunnah cutting is not mandated anyway by religion. But the problem is that in the big picture, the religious leaders are disagreeing on the different forms of cutting. And as long as they disagree, it's very, very difficult to draft a bill.
In Kenya, they have a law, but then the enforcement is another issue.
Yeah.
What's happening?
Yeah, in Finland we often think that whenever there is a law, so everything will change. So we are very, we are very eager to follow each law and regulation that is being enacted. We have a high respect for laws, but in the societies where ISF operates, the case is often that the moral and social norms are much more powerful than the legal norms. So when it comes to this anti-FGM law that was enacted in 1211, of course, there have not been sufficient resources to enforce the law all over the country. So local authorities are not empowered, they are not resourced, equipped to enforce the law. That's one thing. But another thing is that they may not be willing to enforce the law because they know that their local communities highly value the FGM practice, and especially when it comes to political decision makers, they are not willing to further any act that is against their voters' will, so they're a bit cautious about it. But even if the local authorities were equipped and eager to enforce the law, the community members may disagree. So despite the law, they may think that it's a bigger risk to leave the girl uncut and jeopardize her future, so to say, than to face the legal punishments or the eventual health risks. So it's such a huge risk in those settings that your daughter would become ostracized and not accepted by the society, not be marriageable, that they take all other risks rather than that risk. We work at the grassroots level. We work with the local opinion leaders and duty bearers. So when we are talking about these sensitive issues that FGM is, the moral, social norms, so we cannot think that we as International Solidarity Foundation or even our local NGO partners could be the ones to disseminate the information in the first hand. We have to empower the local opinion leaders, those people who have the credibility inside their communities, who are valued, who are seen as capable, and who are seen to have goodwill in the eyes of the community. We have to identify, mobilize, and train those people, and give them all the possible material and support we can, and make them talk around. We do that in Kisi. We have 3 local partner organizations. They have trained so-called key volunteers who again go around in different kind of local groups and schools and barazas, that is a kind of local village meeting. They go to churches. They try to find existing groups, existing structures where people meet anyway, so that we are not establishing separate FGM groups or anything like that, but we find the structures, groups, etc., where people meet anyway, and try to find places and situations there where we could raise our message and make sure that if the message relates to health effects, we have a health worker who delivers the message. If the message relates to religious aspects, it has to be a religious leader to bring the message. The messenger has to have legitimacy in the issues that he or she is bringing. So, and mobilizing opinion leaders is one strategy. Another strategy that we have, especially in Somaliland, that has been suffering of very harsh conditions, climate change, and all the droughts caused by climate change, we have to integrate our FGM eradication work to other projects, especially to projects supporting livelihood, because people in the rural villages of Somaliland, they do not consider FGM as the most burning problem. People are, they're not having water, anything to eat. Their cattle is dying. They're desperate. So FGM is not seen as a problem. It's seen as a valued cultural practice and a tradition by some as mandated by religion. So first of all, we have to make them realize FGM is a problem, and that is done more easily when we can also simultaneously support the people's livelihood, give them something that they urgently need. So that way we do earn some legitimacy in this sensitive work.
uri inzozi nkumbura iteka ntazabona ukabika ibibi byasaze umugongo waho nishima uri kure kure nk'ijuru undebesha andi maso nkakubona uri inkuru nzaba riteka itarangira biganza birangwa mu bupfura iyo ugarutse ukareba uko nakuze biganza birangwa mu mutima nza kuririmba biganza birangwa mu bupfura iyo ugarutse ukareba uko nakuze.
You mentioned, of course, what you do with the leaders or religion scholars, or you mentioned schools. What about the media?
Yes, good that you ask about the media. It's important and a growing part of our work. In Somaliland, we have been training university students, both male and female, from 3 different universities in Hargeisa region, and they have been given basic information about the religious aspects of FGM, and then of course all these physical, social, and psychological health effects. And they have been disseminating the information both in the social media and the traditional media. Also, our partners have addressed female journalists who have received the same education as I just mentioned regards the students. And also the media decision makers have been targeted so that the journalists would have an opportunity to write about these issues. So if we target media, so we try to do that on many levels. So not only the journalists, but also the decision makers, the editors and chiefs who decide what actually will be written and published in the papers. We have, but our local partners and our local volunteers have produced radio programs and TV programs that have been broadcasted in the national or local medias. So in Somaliland, we've actually carried out a lot of media activities in Kisi, where we only have been operating for 2 years now. This is a growing part of our activities, but in the new program, 4-year program period, we are planning to do more on that front as well, because it's important and it's effective and it's a way of receiving wide audiences.
iyo ugarutse ukareba uko nakuze biganza birangwa mu mutima nza kuririmba biganza birangwa mu bupfura iyo ugarutse ukareba uko nakuze biganza birangwa mu mutima nza kuririmba nza kuririmba.
Well, or some may think that this female genital cutting is something so horrible that they don't even want to think about it, or they don't want to read about articles telling about this phenomenon. I think we should face it. We should not deny it, because it addresses 200 million women and girls living today. So it's a huge problem, but also there are ways that each one of us can do to prevent this, and also we should be sensitive to certain similar phenomena happening around us, and we should respect the woman's bodily integrity also here in Finland. I don't make any longer reference to Me Too, but I'd just say that too is about female bodily integrity. So that's kind of that unites all women, and I don't think that the women who have undergone female genital mutilation should be victimized. They should be empowered. So they don't need our pity. What we can do, we can support local actors to empower those women and live worthy lives despite the problems that they face due to this operation. I would also encourage people, both men and women, to think about the gender norms that we live with, because it is actually the very rigid gender norms that lie behind these practices, the gender norms that emphasize women's purity and women's subordination to men, that women are in so many ways dependent on men and marriage, that women should be this and that to suffice and to be marriageable. So that is something that is not fully strange and fully that exists here too. These gender norms that cause different problems for not only for women but also for men, who then again face different restrictions due to the rigid masculinity norms.